Hey, folks, and welcome to the episode of Geekdom World. I'm your host, Will D.
I'm Alex Evans. I'm a geek.
I'm an otaku. And today I wanted to start off with some series that didn't quite do what they were supposed to do as they transition from manga to anime. So, I don't even have to ask. You've seen DC movies.
Of course I have.
Right? Where you're like, this comic was great. I love this hero. And then they put it on the big screen and you're just like, why would you do that to me?
You just want to stick with DC on this one?
I'm just trying to make it something digestible for everyone because I feel if I mention anything about Marvel, um, you know, there's some stands out there who just don't want to hear that they are fans of crap.
Well, I mean, everyone can agree that the twerking scene in She-Hulk was unnecessary.
All of She-Hulk was unnecessary if you ask me, but
there were some things
I didn't say it was all bad. I just said it was all unnecessary.
How else were they going to introduce them? It's not like we were going to get another solo Hulk movie.
Do we really need She-Hulk in the MCU?
Well, I mean, we got to bring everyone in eventually.
No.
Even that one character, I think he's a cowboy. I think they have a cowboy like.
Are you thinking of Jonah Hex?
No.
I was like, that's not.
No. I think he's called Kid Colt.
Oh.
I only know because I'm currently playing Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, and they got some deep cut characters. One of them's a cowboy.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We don't need all of them. Trust me. We don't need at all. But
anyways,
this is a list of animes that just did not make the cut. So the first one technically didn't start as a manga. It started off as a webtoon manhwa, and it's called God of High School.
I can make so many jokes on the title like that. I can't think of any right now.
So for me, this is the series that it's not, like webtoons are not historically animated, right? Korean manhwa are not historically animated by Japanese studios.
Right.
They don't turn into something that gets a lot of them have been turned into K dramas and stuff like that, but they don't get full on anime series. A lot of them, Chinese series do more of that. And this series was so big, so great that a lot of people fought for it. They even did a short for one of the anniversaries. I think, let's say it was the 5th or 10th anniversary, right, of the series being around. Because a lot of these, webtoons that get popular go for years. I'm currently reading one called Lookism, 500 some odd chapters that lets you know that it's been close to 10 years of a series, right? And people saw that too many animations said this needs to be animated. This series is the reason why a lot of your favorite webtoons are getting animated now. And you would think that as the real drive for people being like, webtoons must be animated. It's not Tower of God. It's not all these other popular joints. It was God of High School. And what they did in like 11 episodes to ruin such greatness, a 10-plus year series where the ending of it ends with the Monkey King fighting a demon in outer space for the multiverse. Right? That's where the series ends. And it starts off with one kid trying to figure out what's good with his grandpa. Right? Like, he's trying to be like, I want to be as strong as my grandpa, bro. Like, yeah. Doesn't know he's the Monkey King.
It's quite the jump.
It's quite the jump, right? So don't get me wrong. And believe me, as someone who read it every week it came out, I can tell you, like a real series, there's definitely errors and holes in this, whatever. Like, I'm not clueless to some of the blatant, like, really, bro? But what hurt was that the beginning of the series, when you're reading it, was really good. Essentially, it's about a tournament of high school kids who are, fighting to see who the strongest high schooler in Korea is. Whoever wins the tournament gets one wish granted.
Huh.
They don't fully explain why they're able to grant you anything, but the title kind of alludes to something that they don't start off with because it just seems like a martial arts tournament, and that the term God was very superfluous. Turns out to be very literal later, but we get there for sure. And in fact, even the crappy version of the anime gets there by the end of the season. Um, but what was so good was that each person kind of had like a wrist monitor on them that worked like a Dragon Ball Z eye thing.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see people's power level and perhaps even what fighting styles they had. Most of all that stuff is erased. They went on doing to make sure that you feel like you could care about each character, giving them all a side story for the first 3 episodes. Uh, Again, major pacing issues per episode, where even jumping to the past and going to the modern isn't always very clear. By the time that they get to the tournament, all the fights are cut super short. But the best part about the fights was all the stuff that happens not even in the fight. The fights are good, don't get me wrong. And probably the best part to God of High School, the animation, was the animation on some of these fights, which I think could have held it down for at least a season 2, but it was canceled after 1 season because no one cared enough about the series by the time they got to the really dope animation fights. Um, so yeah, and then even that, when it was super awesome when the two high school kids are in their final fight, it somehow jumps to a really confusing. Now they're fighting some god out of space, or no, not, but like out in this open space with no abilities of their own, trying to survive. I know it's kind of like how that happened. So a lot of issues, but I bring these series up, and especially this one because you can go on Webtoons, whatever manga reading app you use, and you can probably find God of High School and give it a read. It deserves to not be forgotten. And a lot of these series, I feel, are series where because the animation didn't do that great, they could be forgotten. Except for the last one. The last one, I just have to put it on the list because like it's just definitively not what it should have been, and it doesn't even come from manga initially. It just should never have been. The next series is Black Cat. Black Cat, by far, is my favorite manga. It left me in tears. Really good series. Story of an assassin who left his assassin organization to try and redeem himself essentially, and becomes kind of like a PI. And you know, a bunch of his old rivals and his past catch up with him, and him and his current partner have to stop everything that's about to happen between his old friends and enemies going to war, and everyone who'd be collateral damage in the process, right? You can watch the anime. It's about 13 episodes. In its defense, it's from an era when a lot of anime would come out almost immediately as the series got popular, and because they're going through the story so quickly, they get to a point where the manga just it caught up, and they have to come up with their own conclusion, and depending on how it goes, then they chance the chance of another season. And then obviously, you wrap up a story like Black Cat, there's not even a story to try and produce into another season, especially the way they end it. So that's part of the issues in it. But you need to read, if you are a real anime head, manga head. Black Cat is a really well told story. It's a romance, surprisingly, with tons of amazing action, a lot of killing, a lot of cool abilities. Each assassin gets their own signature weapon, marked with their assassin number on it, and the tattoo I want to get is actually his Roman numeral 13, where he has his, because my birthday is the 13th. So, one of my favorite series of all time, but craptacular anime. The next one, another classic, Claymore. Claymore. The story of a warrior who hunts demons, who stumbles upon a young boy who reminds her of herself, and she takes him in as a trainee. You find out she works for an organization of women who are born to kill these monsters. And what you find out is that they get flesh from these monsters they're killing implanted into themselves, and it's only women because men who get implanted go crazy. They have to use women warriors to defeat monsters. Right?
I feel like a lot of these shows involve some kind of body horror.
I mean, it's a whole genre of it. Like even Parasite. Horror series usually involve a lot of really weird gore and body modification stuff like that.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Claymore becomes so much more as you read more of it. But here's the thing about the anime: caught up too quickly. Yet again, that it ends shortly after the big twist of the manga series. So it has a real incomplete ending because they didn't know what was coming, and the manga continues past the anime, and the next part of it, because of how they ended the anime, was never animated. So it's one of those series that if you hang around, you go to an anime convention, a Comic Con, the anime heads will talk about Claymore as a classic for a reason. I have a big problem with the manga, and that I feel like it ended too soon. You can't tell me that your entire universe has dragons and we don't get to meet one, right? And they tell you this literally like the last 10 chapters, that they were all born to figure out how to fight dragons. I was like, mind blown. But but yeah, so it's a whole thing. I'm not gonna go into but like yeah, this is a series that is a must read, despite the lack of dragons. That shouldn't be lacking dragons at all. But I do recommend that you go back, you read it. Another series from Webtoons that just recently came out called How to Fight. The Koreans do a lot of series about high school kids and gangs, high school kids and violence, because there are a lot of, let's just call them unique laws in Korea that allow minors to get away with violent crime with minimal penalty.
Wait, this is actually something that happens in South Korea?
This is something that actually happens in South Korea. In fact, even older gangs will use youth to commit crimes for them, knowing that they will have minimal charges.
So, like, they could, like,
There's a
rob-
bunch. Yeah, there's
they could rob,
robbery,
they could rob.
assault, battery. Even murder may not get them a life penalty, depending on how vicious of a murder it is.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, it's crazy. They have
because no guys I mean like Korea North South, South sorry South Korea.
Yeah.
Like it seems like most of what I hear is K dramas and K pop and
Yeah.
but
there's a lot of youth gang violence. A lot of it's really well known for the young people being really like they have a really bad bullying problem out there because of these laws that protect youths. It's meant to protect the youth. They even have a system where there's like a youth rehabilitation thing, and then like a youth prison, and then the youth prisoners can even get rehabilitated. That when they become of age, it's very likely that they can get out rather than just go to adult prison. Depending on what type of crime and how vicious of the crime. Not even like, okay, you committed murder, but if it was more so like you know an act of self defense that went too far, as opposed to you just attack someone and stab them 30 times, you might be out by the time that you are of age, because it was a young person caught up in the moment, didn't know what to do, was defending himself. Like a manslaughter charge, but that's not manslaughter. It's officially a murder. But yeah.
meanwhile, what are we doing here?
Um,
Everything but the logical things.
Pretty much. But yeah, so that's what they do. So this series is about a young kid who was not popular, was bullied, and in order to defend himself, he actually started watching this YouTube series called How to Fight. And video by video, he practiced whatever technique to learn how to defend himself until the point that he's actually able to fight on his own with use of all the techniques, even how to fight a gun. So it starts with how to fight a boxer, how to fight a wrestler, and the story progresses as he meets these new bullies or new villains who are now a different martial arts style, and so he learns how to fight against all these various martial arts styles throughout the series. It recently became an anime, and again, like God of High School, pacing problems, content problems. They really are missing the mark on the stuff that made the series charming, relatable, and more important than anything, entertaining. So I'm not gonna tell you not to watch it, because maybe if you do, we might get a season 2 from a better studio, or they'll fix their errors. But definitely read How to Fight. It's a great series. It's it's really fun. In all honesty, I hope that, like Goku, it inspires you to start working out and learning how to fight. But last but not least, the series that did not hit the mark as an anime, and I brought up Goku for a reason. Dragon Ball GT. What the heck was going on with that?
I don't know what is going on with
26 episodes of that series were literally cut from the release of the DVD set because they were considered so bad by fans, right? I mean, out of everything that happens in Dragon Ball GT, the best arc is the final arc with Omega Shenron, which means that, like, out of maybe 100 episodes, only 30 of them are worth watching. We are talking about Dragon Ball, right? From Dragon Ball with young Goku to Dragon Ball Z, which became the international phenomenon that built Dragon Ball Empire, right? GT is the black sheep in the franchise. It is something that just, like, it. I honestly wish that it stayed non-canon like the movies. And, you know,
movies
I think
aren't canon?
a lot of the movies are not canon. The recent movies are. But Bardock, all the rest of them, nope, they're not canon movies.
What about the live action one?
We do not talk about Evolution. That is an affront to all things otaku, weeb.
Sorry, I had to be funny.
So bad, just so bad. But
That's what I've heard. I won't.
But yeah, it is literally, Dragon Ball GT is just hot garbage in the name of Dragon Ball. It is essentially the Disney version of Star Wars movies for Dragon Ball.
Oh, that's a bold take.
That is a honest take. I think the only places I've ever seen that were like, oh, GT is cool, were only Latin American countries. People I know from Latin American countries like GT, and I feel that it's just because they are the most hardcore of Dragon Ball fans.
Well, let me ask you then, what happens in it? Why is it so?
What I think it is that GT tried to do too much. It tried to bring back the charm of Dragon Ball, but include the seriousness of Dragon Ball Z. That's not what happens there. Like, Dragon Ball is a classic where I feel a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans don't even properly appreciate it because it really is that stereotypical anime, right? With your, you know, perverted hero, your childlike comedy, these great action moments, you know, almost like the accidental hero, essentially, right? And it's very charming. It's the reason why people fell in love with Goku. Like, if Latin America, and as I can say that as a whole, Latin America has the largest Dragon Ball fan base. Like, they are stands to Dragon Ball for real. I love it. I appreciate it. All of the, you know, tributes to Toriyama when he passed away, touching. And the best stuff, honestly, came out of various Latin American nations. But Goku stands, people who love Goku the most, surely the Japanese. They loved that man so much that when Toriyama was ready to make the story about Gohan, they told him, nah, bro, Goku's our man. Goku's our hero. And that's why Goku had to come back and be the one to end the whole Cell arc. Why they even brought him back to fight Boo. The story was supposed to end several times, and it's just such a popular series to me. But GT, man, that just missed the mark. It wasn't what it could have been. And now there's a new series, Dragon Ball Daima, that I feel is supposed to be what GT couldn't be. Bring back some of the charm of Dragon Ball. And, you know, I'm already hearing from folks that it's too slow for them because they're Z fans in America. Z is big here, and Super is big here, and they're very action-packed. I hope that GT, and especially in the American market, you know, it failed, but Daima can fix all the issues and bring back that charm with the action, of course, that made Dragon Ball, you know, the classic historic landmark series that it was. You know? But yeah. But we're gonna head to our first commercial break, and when we come back, what do you have for us?
Well, I think we're gonna talk about Joker.
Oh God, I knew I had to brace myself, but that bad? We'll be right back.
She's so fake.
She's such a slut. You can see the layers on her face.
Look at her chicken legs. Oh my god.
How short is that skirt?
I can't believe she'd even put that on.
Is that her dress? It's not even on her hardly.
It's not even covering her up.
It's actually disgusting. Oh my god. How can she do her hair like
I don't even know how this girl has
I
friends.
saw her talking to Holden the other day. Who does she think she is?
I bet she slept with the whole football team. She's not even pretty. She's gained so much weight. She looks like a cow.
Such a good idea. Watch this.
You're good. Oh my god, that's so funny. You gotta post that. I got an idea past this.
Oh my god.
All right, so Joker 2.
Yeah, Joker, probably a do, or if you want to have, or as you should probably call it, maybe Joker, probably a dud.
Yeah, it was.
I'll see myself out.
It deserved a joke as bad as it was.
Which really sucks because Joker is probably one of, if not my all-time favorite movie. Just everything about the first one was so awesome. The music, the acting. Oh, who am I kidding? I'd say the music was probably the best part. Like the music that plays when he gets pulled out of the cab, he's standing on top of the cab, and like everyone's like cheering for him and everything. Like I've listened to that song, like when I'm walking home. Like it's just like it's a mood. It's a mood.
Okay.
But damn, and the trailers for this one,
Oh,
I was so excited.
You what?
I thought the first teaser trailer they dropped was great. I really did.
Okay, I can tell you this much, right? When they announced Joker 2, I was probably the most excited person in the world because I thought, they already told you this isn't going to be a Batman Joker. They already told you it's a different kind of Joker. It's a more realistic Joker. Even watching the movie and they do the whole is he Bruce's brother kind of the thing throughout it, which that's weird. I honestly, especially knowing the Batman storyline, I thought that was a cool thing to play with. Whether they came to the conclusion he was or wasn't, I just thought that throwing that in there because of Joker's obsession in the the series we know of Batman, it could explain so much. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a fun idea to toss around, something to tease fans. Make sure that they remember it's part of the Batman thing. It was cool. It was just a lot right with the movie. Even Robert De Niro. Just there's everything about it was so good. And then they ended with him and going to the madhouse and all that. I'm just like, I would love to see where they go next.
Yeah,
right?
If I could have chosen where they could go, I would have loved to see him like in a support group, but everyone in the support group is like other Batman villains,
like Penguin,
maybe Poison Ivy. She's has like social problems and she only talks to her plants.
right?
Or the Mad Hatter. He's like or no. Ventriloquist in Scarface.
Yeah.
Like he's like he also has social problems and his only friend is a dummy. Two-Face, his face is all messed up. And literally, just like a.
Oh no, he would have to be a schizophrenic.
It could have been like a. I didn't see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but I kind of imagined that, but in Arkham.
I could watch a movie like that. I could enjoy it becoming like a fake version of Doom, where like they make that League of Villains,
Yeah, like a. Oh my.
Like how their goal is to break out of Arkham. I could watch a whole movie built around that. That sounds amazing.
But instead, we got
this. But however, this is where I was getting to. You said you enjoyed the trailer. The moment I went from I can't wait for Joker 2 to I'm not even going to watch this movie was when I heard Lady Gaga was Harley Quinn. The moment I heard that casting decision, I already knew this was gonna be a piece of crap because, as you mentioned, the first movie, the music was great, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
I'm
the music
sure
was
you're
great.
not the only person to feel that way. So you cast Lady Gaga in this movie. You already know this is gonna be a musical.
I was.
Hmm.
I mean, I wasn't honestly going to be too picky on like if it was a musical or not, but
It takes away from what made the first movie so great because you have this guy who is living in his version of the world, right?
everyone's a con but him.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
So he's living in his version of the world. He's constantly drifting off into these fantasies that seem so real. Harley isn't even his therapist.
Yeah, she's not even called. She's not even called Harleen Quinzel. She's just Lee Quinzel.
Right.
Like,
Well, maybe that had to deal with some copyright stuff, to be fair.
really?
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, she's like his
She's another patient.
Yeah, no, she's another patient, and like I had even like I when I found out that Harvey Dent was gonna be in, I was gonna be like, oh, maybe we're gonna get maybe we will get more villains, in this style. We're gonna get Two-Face, which I did hear that he does become Two-Face at the end, or at least it's teased, but it's not like we're gonna get it. Not like we're gonna get a Two-Face in this universe.
I've seen the box office numbers on this film. I've seen all the reviews, and
It's
the reviews that matter to me are not the critics. I don't care
the
about
audience.
critics. It's always the audience. Why? Because for years, like the reason why they finally added an action category in the movies is because if you really want to look at movie of the year, it's definitely not half the crap that they've nominated.
Yeah, it's not gonna be some. It's not gonna be some art house thing. It's not.
Eh,
I mean,
not-
like,
not-
let's
not
let's
usually.
let's
'Cause, like you. I mean, didn't Titanic win?
well, yeah,
Titanic won, and that was easily also the audience pick. So I can't always say that they're wrong. But most nominated films are not what really dominated that year. I mean, you have to really look at box office numbers. You have to look at fan reviews. I mean, yeah, we have the People's Choice Awards, but as a community of peers, right? You should also acknowledge the fact that you make this work not for each other.
like
You know?
let's be honest. Like, I remember when like everyone was going wild over Mad Max Fury Road. Like, if that category existed way back when, because it's a relatively new category, right?
Yeah, it's relative.
Like,
then I don't even think it's 10 years old.
Yeah, so like if they had that category back then, Mad Max probably would have taken. They probably Mad Max.
Rambo,
Or
Terminator,
I mean Parasite.
Rocky.
Parasite. I mean, like, I don't know anyone who saw that, but somehow
It won.
But somehow, the director Bong Joon-ho won 4 Oscars
Mhm.
in one night. You know the last person. You want to know? You know who the last person to do that was?
James Cameron,
Nope.
Steven Spielberg.
Nope.
Who?
Walt Disney.
Oh God,
Yeah.
that's a minute ago. I mean,
Which I don't know. I think that's kind of cool.
it's cool, but I watched that movie. I watched Parasite. I watched Parasite. Especially, and I have to say it. As a minority person in America, it is always a win when someone who is not Caucasian gets recognized for their work.
Well, okay, that's
Right.
I see.
So
it.
so I was happy to see someone who, I mean, let alone not being Caucasian, but just wasn't even American, get recognized for their work because they
Okay.
have a foreign film category.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
And I will tell you, as someone who loves music from around the world, some of the best music is not ever from the United States in any given year.
Or the UK.
Or the UK. And you know what I'm saying? So it's great for me to just see a global appreciation of art in any way, shape, or form. Right?
No, I get it.
But I didn't get a chance to see Parasite in theaters. So when it finally was, they put it. I think they finally put it on Hulu shortly
Yeah.
after because it won so many awards. Hulu was just like, "We'll take it," right? And now it's Disney owned. So almost instantaneously, I watched it. And what
Parasite on Disney Plus.
Oh no, on Hulu.
Well, Hulu is part of Disney Plus now. Like they
Yes.
combine the apps.
Yeah, finally now.
Right, so that's
I'm
what I'm
talking about
saying.
when this happened.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking of.
But I watched the movie, and I'm watching it at first, and it's a slower paced film, which I'm expecting out of an especially an Asian drama.
Mhm.
There's a lot of huge big build up. And literally watching this movie about this family, it reminded me not to as a grotesque degree, but of a Japanese manga called Arigato, about this really like average family that had a really crap life, right? Like I said, not as demented as this manga, but a lot of the same vibes. And essentially just this family in a crap situation trying to make it through. And it goes from that to being this really weird, almost supernatural killer film. And it gets really confusing almost more than halfway into the film. I'm telling you, like where all the crazy stuff happens in with maybe a third of the movie left or something like that. And I'm just like, what did I just watch? By the end of it, I'm just like, this film walked away with 4 awards. I gotta admit, did not deserve it. And all the joy in the world for seeing, oh yay, they're finally preaching forward art. Somebody who's not the typical is getting their thing, da 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 da. Because again, it's not that it was someone black. It was just that someone who wasn't of the typical standard. Because we've had the different award shows talk about how it's very whitewashed, right?
Yeah, I mean, what was the last movie that was not by white people that cleaned house? I think the last movie to do that was Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Yeah.
which I didn't see it.
That was pretty cool. Again, I feel a little overhyped, but it was good.
That took home, I think, like 5 Oscars. Not now, granted,
not a single individual.
not by a single individual. That's the part that that's the part I'm fixed on with Bong Joon-ho and Walt Disney.
Right. But I mean, in all honesty, that movie, I watched that too. I watched that in theaters. That was good. That walking with 5 Oscars makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Parasite, to this day, I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Can't.
So yeah, Joker 2, not the best
At all.
Honestly, a real fall from grace. Like IMDb, like the first one, 8.4, the sequel, 5.5.
Dang, they gave it a 5. That's a lot of love.
And it's crazy because the director of the movie, Todd Phillips, he directed probably one of my all-time favorite film trilogies,
Which one?
The Hangover. No, I love those movies.
They're great.
They're funny.
They're great.
The third one's my personal favorite, personally.
Really?
Yeah, I just think it's like everyone complains about like how the second one is just a repeat of the first one. The third one is different. The stakes are at the highest. So I'm like, yeah, this is great.
I would still argue that the first one is the best, personally. But I respect
Highest
the third
grossing
one.
comedy of 2009.
What, the third one?
No, the second one. The first one.
First one. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
2009, 2011, 2013.
Yeah.
I know my dates like that.
I'm glad you do, because I can't remember what year it is now.
I just stopped caring.
I feel you. On that note, we're going to go to our next commercial break. When we come back, watch another vlog. See you shortly.
There's another boss.
He's terrible. That arena's too small.
Yeah,
But I think that was the point.
We didn't really talk about Commander Gaius. I think we need to. Because
Everyone's favorite boss.
if you ask me, Commander Gaius, you should be able to lock onto his bore.
Same with Bale. You should be
Same
able to
with
lock
Bale.
on Bale's body.
Yeah, because you can only
Ridiculous.
lock onto one portion of their body. And like, for instance, with Bale, you can only lock onto his head, which is literally the smallest portion thing on his body. And it's the same when it goes to Commander Gaius.
Yep.
I can't think of Commander Gaius the same after the baby naming memes that go all over TikTok. The Commander Gaius pictures. It's a baby or insane. It keeps invading my mind every single time I say his name. But with Commander Gaius, I think he's a really cool boss.
Yes.
I think he's an awesome boss, especially when you see his lore implications. Like he was like the rival of Radon and everything, and that he's an albinaric.
Yep.
So he can't walk very well.
That's
the reason why he has his boar. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Lore. And
I like that.
And he has an almost undodgeable move. And we all
It
know
is
which
board-
one that is, and that's the board charge.
The board charge, yeah. I have a lot of problems with it. That's the reason why I like Sekiro so much. You don't have to dodge. You know what you can just do? Ching!
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, you just got
Yeah.
you gotta go hard in it. You gotta
Some
go
people
hard in
would
the
say
paint.
that that makes it where you require no skill.
I beg to differ.
I agree.
I beg to differ. I beat that game and I love that game.
Alright.
That is one of my favorite games of all time.
So, now that we're done with bosses,
Yes.
we're going to get into what I think is probably going to be the last thing we talk about, because there's not really much more, and that's equipment such as weapons and spells and armors that are added in.
Yeah.
One
There's a lot.
One awesome thing they did, which I talked about earlier, is they now have armors that have special effects on them, which I know some of them did in the base game, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
Like, some of the helmets will give you +4 strength, +4 dex,
Yes.
but it takes away Estus gain.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. I like how they're starting to get more into armors with special effects. That's about all we can say about the armors.
Yeah.
There's nothing really much else.
Yeah, I mean they're cool looking. They're very nice. They're very pretty.
Yep.
But that's one of the things I wanted to hit on because it kind of relates with the equipment and everything like that.
Yeah.
People calling Elden Ring an RPG. I think this DLC helped with it.
Yeah.
Specifically because there's gear like armor and stuff like that which helps your stats.
Yeah.
I actually like that.
Which is great.
Because that actually helps with it being an RPG because there's not a role you're playing
Yeah, it's
in Elden Ring games. I understand why it's because I
nothing
don't.
really gives to that role.
Yeah,
You could say you're playing a role, but nothing gives to that role.
yeah. That's a good way of putting it because it's just. I don't know. It feels weird calling it an RPG, but I don't know what else I
Like
would
it's
call
got
it.
it's got RPG. It's like what is it? Fallout 4, right? It's got RPG aspects, but it is not an
It
RPG.
is not
Fallout
RPG,
4
yeah.
has some problems,
Yeah.
boy.
But I've been playing like pretty recent RPGs. I want to get into the new Final Fantasy games and everything like that, especially 7 Rebirth and the new Final Fantasy 7 that came out, everything that. But I've been playing like a Dragon, the one that was in Hawaii, the Yakuza game series, and those games are RPGs, and I fell in love with that series because of those games. Because like my friend, he said, or they told me, you should try this game. I think you would really like it because I loved Persona 5. And I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And I just fell in love with the enriching world of Yakuza. And I could talk about that
Hey man,
another day.
we're talking about
yeah,
Elden Ring.
yeah, we need to talk about Elden Ring. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate when it
Yeah.
comes to those games now.
So that's all we can say about armors. Weapons, they have, I believe it's 8 new weapon types,
Yes, I
which
think so, yeah.
are great. I think the ones that I would say are on par, they reign supreme, are backhand blades and light great swords. Those are the
I would
best.
say, I would
those
say
are
the Great Katana should be in that category too.
well, with the new.
I'm not talking about
Glitch.
with that. I'm not talking about with that dumb glitch. But because those are just really good in
Yeah.
general, I think.
Light great
personally.
swords, though, are beautiful.
Yeah.
The move sets are fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
they are.
And all the light great swords that you can get in the game are all good. Every single one of them are good.
Yeah, I do think they nerfed Letta's sword though.
I do too, because last time I got on and tried using it, it was nowhere near as good. Especially the L2.
Yeah. Yeah,
The L2 was terrible.
Which I don't think it needed nerfed.
No, it did.
I really don't think it needed nerfed.
Maybe have it use more FP.
If anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
if
it
anything.
should not have nerfed the damage on it. And then you have throwing daggers. There's only one throwing dagger, which is really upsetting, and it's not good.
I beg to differ.
It's if you put scatter shot on it.
Yeah, if you put scattershot on it, it does really, really good. But I will say, whenever the first big patch came out, they increased the range of the throwing daggers.
Yes.
Because that was
Thank
one of
goodness.
the biggest problems with those throwing daggers, is that they would always be like a hair away from your boss that you're trying to get with them and everything like that.
Terrible.
Because I remember in the promotional material, and I want to talk about the stuff in the promotional material,
Yeah.
which was they showed the throwing daggers, they showed the beast claws, and stuff like that. And let me tell you, I was so hyped for the beast claws and like the martial arts and stuff like that they were teasing. and I used them as much as I could. And thinking on it now, I do not like the Beast Claws.
No, it needs animation canceling.
You cannot cancel any
And
animation.
that's another big problem with Elden Ring is it needs animation canceling
Yeah.
for a lot of things.
And one of the biggest problems with the Beast Claws is you click the normal attack button once, and you straight up attack twice,
Yep.
or sometimes 4 times with the Beast Claws, and that's only exclusive with the Beast Claws. I can't think of any other weapon that does that other than like a weapon art, an Ash of War, for
right.
instance.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
But like I mean, there's only 2 Beast Claws, right?
Yeah, sadly.
Which I get that the 2 Beast Claws that there are in the game are really good.
They're cool.
Like the red bear claws. I love
especially since they've
the buff on them. Yeah,
buffed them.
yeah, they buffed them, which makes them really good. I imagine.
And then you also have perfume bottles, which we all know. Whenever it came out, perfume bottles were the meta because of one of their Ashes of War, Rolling Sparks. You could do an upwards of 20,000 damage on a boss, particularly the one for the lightning perfume bottle.
Yeah.
I love perfume bottles. And they didn't really nerf it. I know people are saying they nerfed it, but they fixed it.
Yeah, they fixed it because like people used to just look at the ground and spam it because all the explosions would hit the
And
ground.
now they fixed that because the explosions have to go a certain radius in order
Yeah.
for all of them to go off.
Yeah, which
And they fixed
that
that.
makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And I would like to say we didn't use metas like that.
No, not really.
I think you used it once on the Sunflowers boss.
I don't even think I used it on Sunflower. I think I used it on Golden
You-
Hippo.
Golden Hippo, yeah, because
Weak to lightning.
yeah, they're weak to lightning, yeah, because it's in a water-based flooring.
And
everything
speaking
like that.
of weak to lightning, faith incantations, like in actual Elden Ring, reign supreme.
Oh my
Again.
god, yeah.
Faith incantations are just so much better than the sorceries. It's crazy. Like the Knight's lightning spear, I think is what it's called, where you throw a lightning bolt and then 6 more appear. And go,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is a damn good.
Or Pest Thread Spears.
Test thread spears, damn good.
Really good.
It's amazing. There's
Really,
so many
really good.
amazing spells, which is why I think they should have given us 1 or 2 more memory slots. And
Yeah.
another problem I have is that a lot of the spells in this that do a lot of damage do no more than 2 slots filled up. In base game, you have like Scarlet Aeonia or Elden Stars that fills up 3 slots. Scarlet Aeonia, I think
I can
no
understand
more
that
than
one,
2.
yeah.
No more than 2, especially with Elden Stars. That's just a garbage move.
Yeah, it could have been so good.
And everyone's like, "Oh, it's great for PvP." It's like if someone sees you using Elden Stars in PvP, they're just gonna bum rush you,
Yeah.
and you're gonna get screwed up before the Elden Stars even goes off.
And I would just like to say, I don't like PvP.
No.
I don't like it. It ruins the game because it makes you waste resources.
Yeah, he's not a PvPer.
I'm
I
not.
don't like it.
I like single player more than anything. Or co-op.
Yep.
Co-op's pretty damn cool too. But PvP when it comes to these games is so good. Especially because the netcode is so bad. Because if you just see a guy that has no moving animations, but he's just lagging towards you,
You're dead.
what are you going to do against that?
You're
You
dead.
can't predict anything he does.
Yeah.
Like it's just like because their netcode is so terrible when it comes to matchmaking when it like that, and it's just like, oh my god.
And speaking of PvP and co-op, we're gonna talk about the community,
Yes.
specifically me.
Yeah.
I see all these people getting so upset and literally bullying people because they want to use a spirit summon or summon in friends for co-op. And what I gotta say to that is you're being a garbage human being if you're bullying people for using aspects in a game that were given to them to
Yeah.
use. It's ridiculous. And I'll argue and say that summoning in someone for co-op arguably can make a boss harder.
Definitely.
They gain so much more health
Mhm.
and they do much more damage.
Yeah. Because I think with our first time fighting Bale, we summoned a guy in. It was me and you, and then we realized we can summon Captain Ahab.
Egon?
Egon, my bad. It's a Moby Dick story. It's exactly what it is. But and
He's even got the harpoons.
he's even got the harpoons, yeah. And he's can't walk right
Yep.
because Bale took his leg. Even in the game files, I think his name's Ahab.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think so.
But
I could be wrong on that. But like with that fight, it made the boss's health significantly more tedious
yes.
to the tear through and everything like that. But I agree. It's an aspect of the game. For instance, Miyazaki specifically made spirit summons for people that want to go through the game single player.
Yeah.
He made those specifically for those
Remember,
people.
Elden Ring was made for newcomers into the Souls series.
Yes, yeah.
Don't be bullying people because they want to use aspects given to them in the game. Because that's the way you play the game. Don't be that kind of person.
I will also say you are seeing a lot of the negative parts of
Oh
the
no,
community.
there's a lot of great
There's-
parts of the community.
I will say, I think, and this goes back to
like we had a man invade us and drop us 99 America's ruins.
oh my god, yeah, that was crazy because I was sitting there. We were in the Forbidden
Abyssal
Woods,
Woods.
the Abyssal Woods when that happened, and I was just like, dude, I don't want to deal with this. I have like 3 finger remedies. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. It made me like want to quit the game. But the guy walked up to us. He waved at us, and we're like, okay. So the guy's somewhat honorable at least. He's not going to be like spamming
Yeah, a spell or anything.
a spell or a meta.
And then he
or
dropped
anything
an
like that.
item.
And then he dropped an item, and I said, I said, Damon, I'll grab this. And I went up and grabbed it, and it was 99 America's runes, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And then he dropped me 80
Champion runes?
Heroes runes.
Heroes runes, that's what they're called. Champions, that's in Dark Souls. But and then he waved goodbye, and then he slashed his way out of
just
our
left.
realm. And we're just like, you know
So, yeah,
what?
there are great aspects of the community. There are great people in the community that do
yeah.
stuff like that. That's fun.
Mhm.
But then there's people who bully people.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely terrible and ridiculous.
I do think with, like I said, this is what I was going to say earlier. Kai Cenat playing Elden Ring, I think, is the best thing that could have happened to the Elden Ring community because it is introducing a lot of people.
A lot of people in.
A lot of very welcoming people.
Yeah,
I would say, like
'cause
very
Kai's a great
good
guy.
people. Yeah.
He's very warming. He's a very warming personality.
Yeah, and
And he doesn't like bullies.
He does not like
or
bullies.
people being rude.
hmm But and I've never had so much fun like finding clips of somebody
man.
playing Elden Ring.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's definitely had the best clip.
Yes, I agree with that. And I mean, he's a content creator. It's kind of what he needs to do. And, I know there's a lot of accusations of him overacting, but I think every content creator, when it comes to that, overreacts.
We're entertainers.
Yes, they're entertainers. That's the point of them and everything that they're meant to entertain a certain specific demographic of people.
But I think that'll conclude our review on Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Yes, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Great expansion. It did a lot. It was actually fun. Gave
It's
us a
fun
lot
for
of
quite
stuff
a bit,
to work
yeah.
with.
Yeah.
I'll give it 4 out of 5. I know you're giving it lower.
I think I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 because I don't find that replayable whatsoever.
Yeah, you don't like Souls games like I do.
Well, I love Souls games.
Ah.
It's just that game is not replayable.
No, there's
I even think base Elden Ring isn't replayable.
people would argue.
Oh man, oh man, argue. They can argue all they want. I don't care. It's my opinion, and that's what I like.
So, with that concluding, what do you think about next? Us reviewing Trapped
Mm-hmm.
and Alien Romulus, I believe.
You want to do the Borderlands movie? I think
we'll
that's
be
going to be a
doing
big
Borderlands.
one.
We'll be doing
That's going to be a
Borderlands.
big one.
We'll be
We're
doing
big
Borderlands.
fans of the video games.
So we're hoping the movie is good. I know there's a lot of people upset with the casting.
I'm a little upset with some of the casting.
I'm
some of the casting.
gonna try and push through it because it could be a fun movie.
Yeah, it could
Who
be a
knows?
fun movie.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be a good movie, like story-wise per se.
The
But
game,
that's fine.
yeah. I mean, the first one really wasn't. I will say the second one's story writing kicked it up a notch. Like the
Oh,
second
man.
Borderlands with Handsome Jack as a villain,
Oh,
which
yeah.
which is something that they're going to be living in the shadow of forever with the Borderlands series, sadly.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But like, we love those games.
Oh, man, they're
Love those
fantastic.
games. Some of our favorite games.
And I believe from here on out, we are going to be talking about whatever news is going around and going on in the world of geekdom.
Films, TV, comics, video games.
Such as all, like, for example, all the stuff that was announced at San Diego Comic-Con, which I'm sure everyone knows, and I'm sure everyone's upset about some things.
I am.
We can go over that. We can go over that at the beginning of our next episode.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, we will see you next time, everyone.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Yep. See ya.
All right, and we're back one
Back.
more time with Conrad
One more
from the
time.
LDM show.
Shit.
All right, so you've been enjoying this geek thing a little bit?
Yeah.
All right, so I know it's not as long as
Freak
the
out.
other one. All right, but now, did you grow up on Pokemon?
Pokemon, yes.
Okay. Now, have you heard of a game called Pal World?
Yes, I heard of it. The Pokemon Killer.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what it was marketed as.
It is literally Pokemon with
Guns.
right? Now, this is the thing. So, in recent weeks, Pal World has officially been sued by Pokemon owners and creators, and you know, I'm like, okay, well, this took about a year and a half longer than I thought.
Yep.
I mean, you can literally look at the images of Pal World characters and pick out which Pokemon they
Oh,
are.
yeah.
Right? I think even though when I was watching video of gameplay, it's like, oh, you're in Viridian City all over again. Like, it's pretty much like an old school Pokemon game, but like the Pokemon are more vicious, right?
Oh, man.
And I'm like, okay, the lawsuit happened, everything's going on. So I'm at Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, and I see a Pal World with a huge display at Comic-Con. I'm like, aren't you guys in the middle of a lawsuit with that
Yeah,
booth
man.
down
Yeah,
there?
there.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah, Nintendo doesn't play with their
They really
copyright,
don't. But, I mean, so here's
the
my
intellectual talent.
if you're Nintendo and you're giving these guys grace for a year, right? Let them have their fun.
Mhm.
I mean, I literally from the day that Power World launched, saw every image tagged with Nintendo at Nintendo at
Oh.
Nintendo, and it took over a year.
They really were
before
poking
they
the
were
bear
like,
right there.
We gotta sue these people and stop this. Why would you let them have a booth down the road from you at New York Comic Con? That's like your worst enemy, right? You can see that he stole your car and he lives 3 doors down, and he just kind of like, I'm gonna call the cops eventually.
Eventually, hey, this is America. You gotta have all the right paperwork before you get to throw stuff around there.
But they do. That's I mean,
Well, you gotta look at it. Think of it like as Robot Chicken, because Robot Chicken does a lot of parodies of stuff.
yeah, but you see, but that's the whole thing. So like, there's like this gray area, right? I call it the 33%.
The 33%.
As long as you've changed at least a third of a name or an image or something, you can technically call it a new image because ideally, like, I could copyright the letter A, right? And then anyone who uses the letter A in a word would have to pay me. But as long as I'm using 3-letter words and up, you can't pay me. Like, you can be like, no, it's it's different,
There's a
right?
difference.
So like, it's weird nonsense like that where just like, at least Robot Chicken, right? They do parodies, they do shorts. They're not making a ton of money off of their fake version of Pikachu.
Yeah, that is
Right?
true.
And then their Pikachu is claymation. It's colored slightly ajar. The imagery are like is enough to be like, I know
What
it's
it is,
Pikachu,
but
it's
we're not.
And then a lot of the time, there's also rules where it's just like length of time, right? Where like if
Yeah.
I have it on the screen for 5 minutes, after that you can sue me and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, you can copyright it for ownership if people are trying to profit over it. but you can't copyright the fact that it released this sort of like. I'm not gonna get sued every time I say Pikachu because you copyright Pikachu.
The name.
Because I'm literally talking about a name that you put out into this world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I think only stuff gets weird is if like you name the baby something. I think that Charles mentioned this on one of your episodes that like some family couldn't take their kid out of England because somebody wrote the name that they decided to use.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, well, that makes sense, but it's also just like, really, bro?
It's a name. Like it's a baby.
Just a baby.
It didn't choose to get the name. It was given the name.
It was given the name, and you're like, we can't let this baby out of the country. Like, I don't know, but I was just shocked. I was shocked. I did not expect Power to be so ballsy because New York Comic Con is a big deal. I would argue it's the second biggest like geek event of the year. Right, second only to San Diego.
Yeah,
that is the like when
San Diego Comic
Con's happening. That is
San Diego.
Comic-Con, right. But next would be New York Comic Con. I feel like it just doesn't have as many oh my god moments like
I think also the space. I think the space because in New York Comic Con, no, not New York, San Diego Comic Con, they do a bunch of like exhibits and stuff like that.
I mean, it's
like outdoor
it's a
stuff.
lot
Yeah,
larger. It's really big. But every major geek con is out West Coast like that. Like even like E4 or E3.
Yeah, E3.
E4 was the network. But yeah, E3.
Oh yeah, on Spike TV.
Right
there you go.
But no, it's like really big event, and just like we just do it at the Javits Center. I think the biggest event that happens at the Javits Center arguably is the car show. I think that. Have you ever been to that?
I've never been to the car show.
I think you got to put that on the list of things.
There you go.
City car show.
New York City car show.
Yeah, but I'm probably going to try and play this Power Earth game before it gets.
Yeah, you should.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've been delaying it, and I was kind of hoping like I'll play it if Nintendo recognizes it, and they have. I don't know. Would you try it?
I would try it just for the fun of it, and also it's something different because I think also it kind of pushes Nintendo to like try something new because remember in the era of like the Nintendo GameCube, there was a lot of new inventive ways that Nintendo was doing games.
If you're talking about the GameCube, I mean, a lot of people didn't know you can do 8-player on the GameCube.
Oh yeah,
like there were a lot of extra features on the GameCube
that a lot of people did not know,
and arguably makes it one of, if not the best system ever. Now, I will personally go down and say my opinion as the best system of all time is PlayStation 2.
It is,
right?
100%.
But when you really look back at the tech, it's like being a fan of iPhone, but knowing that Android has more options.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So that's where I am on that. I'm realistic. It's been great having you on, wrapping up some of these episodes.
Glad to be here.
Definitely feel free to drop by at any point in time. Again, catch Conrad on the
LDM station.
Show.
Show.
Yeah, the show.
That's the network. Yeah, on Roku TV.
Every Thursday, 6 p.m. He's on live on Facebook. You can catch him on Roku TV after. And we will catch you guys Mondays at 6 on the LDM Network. So we'll catch you guys next week as well. Peace.